What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
Welcome back to another Thursday night episode of Software Explorations with yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph. So tonight we are not going to go into Airflow. I'll explain that later, but we're going to go into the page object model for all of my up and coming QA people out there. We know that the page object model is huge. So, probably one of the most important parts of automating. So we're going to get into that. But first, let's do this. Go through our agenda for tonight. So first I want to say thank you to all of the latest subscribers to the channel. I really appreciate you for finding value in the content that is produced here.
I appreciate you.
You guys are amazing. And shout out to the tech barbarians for always working so hard on a daily basis. Since Stephanie's here, I'm just going to pick on her for a second, right? So she was working on a freelance project and she's done today. And she's like, well, now to the next thing. I'm like, come on, take a break. Like take at least like 5 minutes off before you move on to the next thing, But she's like, next challenge, please. So, shout out to the barbarians who are always hard at work. All right. So, and all of them, like they're putting in countless hours during the day. Like after some of them, they work a day job. And then after that, they go and they put in another 2 to 3 hours, always working hard, very enthusiastic, dedicated to getting to the next level. So shout out to all of the tech barbarians for all of the effort that they continuously keep to put in. And we can see the results. All right. So if you haven't done so yet, like the video, share the video. Subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. That way you can always be notified of when new content is released, which is on a daily basis for the most part. And you continue to get some amazing information. You learn from me, all the things that I've been through, all the things that I'm learning, that I'm trying to innovate and explore. So, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every single time a new video is released and that we go live. All right. So next thing, let's get into the live show schedule. Okay. So live show schedule, we have Sunday afternoons, software explorations. Right now we are working through Terraform. Was so disappointed that we were not able to go live successfully on this past Sunday. Had a lot of things planned out, being the, first day back from my trip. But, it is what it is. We adjusted, and right now things are looking pretty good on the internet connection, unlike it was on Sunday. And we're able to live stream on Tuesday, our Q&A night. So we had a lot of fun doing that as well this past Tuesday. So Tuesday nights. So, all right, to start over. Sunday afternoons, 2:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do software explorations where right now we're going through Terraform. Tuesday nights, we have our Q&A sessions where I answer your questions, or I get questions from that I find on the web, and I answer those questions, because sometimes there's questions that you don't even know that you have, and then that's able to add tons of value to you, how you approach interviews, how you approach QA, whatever the case may be, right? And then we have on Thursday nights, which is tonight, We have more software explorations where we're going through Airflow, but I'm pivoting tonight just to go through the page object model, right? And we'll get into that a little bit more later. So once again, Sunday afternoons, software explorations, Tuesday nights, Q&A sessions, and Thursday nights, software explorations again. And then we have our live show. We have our pre-recorded content where we have Mondays, all times are at noon Eastern time. We have Mondays, Candid Conversations. We have on Wednesdays, software explorations, concept and overviews. Yesterday was an overview about the page object model. So hopefully you found that useful. And then we have on Fridays, the Bug Bite, where we review different bugs that affect different companies, how it affected their customers, the implications that they had, financial implications, sometimes legal implications, whatever the case may be, right? So we review that as well. So hopefully you find that interesting, you find that useful. So once again, Mondays, Candid Conversations, Wednesdays, software explorations, concept and overviews, and Fridays, the Bug Bite, all right? And then throughout the week, we are dropping clips of our Q&A sessions because, sometimes you don't have the time, right, Stephanie? You don't have the time to sit through a 2.5 hour Q&A show, but there might be a question in there that you find very valuable. So we clip it up and we release it to you. And that way you can consume it in a bite-sized piece, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes they go about maybe 15 minutes, if Good Guy is watching, so he'll call me out on it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So that is our live show and our pre-recorded show content. All right. So one more time, if you haven't done so yet, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, check out the Patreon because there is tons and tons of information that I'm putting in there. Direct access to me, like any message I get in the Patreon, I respond to. And sometimes, like, if I have the capacity, I'll be more than happy to jump on a call or, help you out with whatever the case may be. But there's also the higher tiers who have dedicated one-on-one time with me, and where we do interview preparation, we do resume reviews. If you ask my friend Adrian, who's one of the newest tech barbarians, he'll tell you he'll tell you the story about his resume, like how many times we spoke about it, and then once he became a tech barbarian, there's a reference from the Notorious B.I.G. where his resume went from ashy to classy, so just ask him about it. All right. So that is what we do in the Patreon. It's all about winning. We are dedicated to the results. All right. Nothing matters but the results. All right. So if you want to level up your technical skills, the link for the Patreon is in the chat, and it's also in the description. All right. So that's that. All right. So what we're going to do tonight, right? Like I said, we're not going to go through Airflow because here's what happened. A lot of times when you're trying to use code or a repository that someone else provided to you, there can be like too much stuff to filter through, where you just really need to get to you're just trying to accomplish one thing, but the setup is so much, right? So I was messing with it this week, and I got very close to it, but I didn't want to dedicate the time to it tonight to try to finish getting through it. Because what my plan to do with the Airflow is I'm going to set up a very basic Airflow container, which has, and I'm going to use my own project, right? Because the goal of the Airflow project is to get Selenium Wire to run on the Airflow server, right? And the Airflow container. So what I've been working on is creating a separate bare bone Airflow container via Docker, right? And installing the necessary Python packages onto it. So, and then I'm going to run my own script, my own test that I know works with a Selenium Wire on locally, and I've also been able to run it on the on an AWS EC2 instance, right? So I know that it works, and so now then it'll just be configuring this bare bone Airflow container. So once we know that works, and we know that Selenium Wire works on that, then I can send it back to our friend in Taiwan and say, okay, this is how I got this to work. Now this is so now with it, because I know his setup works for him, but I don't know all the ins and outs of his setup, and it would be like too much logistics to try to get it to work out exactly on his. But the main thing is getting Selenium wire to work on an airflow container. So that's what we're gonna do, and that is the spirit of troubleshooting. That is the spirit of QA. It's like you have to strip out all of the things that are pretty much not relevant to the issue that you're trying to solve, right? You don't want to try to solve everything at once. You want to strip things out so that you can know what the root of the problem is, fix that, and then you can put everything else back in. You gotta identify the problem. It's like that with everything in life, right? A lot of times you might have car troubles and you're not sure what's going on, and the mechanic has to get to the root of the problem. Say, okay, this is exactly what the problem is, and this is what we're going to fix, right? So it's no different in QA. It's no different in the software industry, right? You have to figure out what's wrong and then you have to fix it, right? So that's why we are not going with Airflow tonight, but it is a perfect time to get into the page object model because we had a video on that yesterday, right? We had our software explorations on that, a 40-minute video, a very easy to understand overview of the page object model, right? And then I'm still going to try to make it even easier. Not tonight. Although, like, what I mean by not tonight is we are still going to like, I'm still going to simplify it, but I want to make like even easier videos coming out in the near future about like trying to break down some complex technical topics into a very easy way to understand it. So that's part of the goal. So I'm still working on that. We're going to see how we're going to incorporate that, but that's the plan. So tonight though, however, because I was so brokenhearted on Sunday that I didn't get to the web automation challenge by our good friend Don at Chaos Camp, we're gonna spend some time tonight doing that, right? And then we will go into for the page object model, right? What I'm gonna do, one of the first projects that we did on this channel, right? We did a side-by-side automation of Uber Eats, right? One of them in Java and then one of them in Python. We were comparing the two, right? But we never actually, like, we only did like one class in the page object model for Java. Well, we did more in Python. So what we're going to take the Uber Eats project that we did months ago, and we're going to turn that into the page object model, and you'll see how that goes, right? And I'm actually going to use the page factory with it because I think the page factory is a lot better than the barebone page object model. But whatever your preference is, you can go with that. But I just think that the page factory makes it a little bit easier. So what we're going to do is we are going to allocate 30 minutes to Don's challenge, and whatever we don't get done tonight, we will pick it up next time, right? So here we go. Let's go to what? Or none of my. For some reason, none of the mice are working, but it's okay. We'll use the keyboard's mice. All right, so here we are. We are here. So this stuff is working. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, well, it is what it is. We will have to adjust. All right, so we will be using the laptop's keyboard and my mouse today because all the other stuff do not feel like working today. So here we go. All right, we are going to go to our shared screen and then we're going to read what the challenge is. All right, so let's see here. All right. So what is the challenge that we're going to do? We're going to be doing the web automation challenge. And it says, this repository contains the code for a web UI automation challenge. The challenge is to find a span containing a dynamically generated UUID. Double click this element and assert that it turns green. These tests must rerun with 100% success rate over multiple runs. And we're going to need Docker to do this. So if you guys are not familiar with Docker, feel free to follow along to get a better understanding. All right. So let me open up my PyCharm. All right. Okay, here we go. Chaos Cap challenges. All right, cool. So got it open, and Stephanie says she is excited for this. She was curious about about this particular challenge. It's gonna. I've seen the UI, and I don't know. After I don't know. Maybe we won't be friends with Don anymore after this one. So we'll see. We're gonna see because I saw it and I'm like, oh, okay, this is evil. So we might not be friends with Don after that. He might, he might get kicked out of the group. So we'll see. So keto. All right. All right. So let's see. So we'll go through the Docker part afterwards once we're actually doing it. Oh, that's about it. All right. Cool. So all right, let's switch over to the screen. And clear these things. Oh, no. All right, so this is the web automation challenge. So let's go to the README here so we can have here as well. So we need to build the Docker image, right? So let's do what it says. All right, so let's go here and we're gonna go CD web automation challenge. And it says to navigate to the directory where you have the Docker file. So let's go ls. All right, so this in this directory. And it says run the following command, docker build t my web UI challenge dot for everything in there. Make sure to include the dot at the end as it specifies that Docker build context is in the current folder. Okay. All right, so now it's building the Docker image. And so Docker image is built. If you do, so once your Docker image is built, if you do Docker PS or not PS images, because the image is built. So now I have way too many images on here. So there goes the latest one. 43 megabytes, took 16 seconds to build, or created 16 seconds ago. Right, so now we are going to we're going to start our Docker. We're going to start our Docker container. So we're going to do Docker run on port. We're going to say we want it to go on 8080 of our machine, but inside the Docker container it's running on port 80 and the my web UI challenge. All right. And we run it. Before we do that, right, let's take a quick look at what's inside the Docker file to see what this Docker container, what this Docker image contains of, right? So it's saying from the Nginx using the Alpine I guess Linux, right? So it's creating the container based off this image, and it's copying the index.html into, like, that is this index.html into this folder on the container, right? So USR share nginx html index.html. So I'm guessing I'm not too familiar with nginx, but I'm guessing that this is the folder that will host the website files, and it says expose port 80. So that's why in the Docker run command it's saying that map port 8080 on our computer to port 80 on the container when it starts it, right? And then to start Nginx to serve the site. So once the container gets started, it's going to execute this command nginx-g daemon off. All right. So for those who are not familiar with Docker and creating Docker images, this is a brief, quick overview of creating your own Docker image based off another image, right? Because you can take an image and then you can put stuff on that image, right? Whatever files you need to put on there. Say what ports you want to expose. So this one is for Nginx, but you can do it for whatever Linux machine. You can do it for so many different images. Like, because like if you remember the Airflow, we have a Docker file. We're using the Airflow as the base container or base image, and then we're adding stuff to it. There's a bunch of stuff that was being done to it. All right. So so you can install like all your required Python requirements, like pip install and all that type of stuff, right? So very, very cool stuff. All right. So now that we know we've seen the Docker file, let's give it a close. And now let's execute our Docker run command. And should have did -d because, well, we can still do that, right? So it started, but I'm gonna stop it so we can add the -d. Let's do the -d as part of it. Oh, it might not even start. So let's do Docker rm or Docker. Yeah, let's do Docker ps or Docker ps-a. That way, because I want to run it in detached mode. I should give it a name as well. Let's see what we can do. So give it this name. So Docker rm. All right, cool. So what we're gonna do, we're going to modify his command just a little bit, right? By all means, you can definitely run this command just as it is. Being that I know a little bit about Docker, I can modify it a little bit so that we can say, give it a -n maybe, and then chaos cap web UI challenge, and I'm going to do -d. Probably going to be something wrong with it, but we will fix it on the way there. Okay, so so it's probably nope. I won't. Oh, let's look it up real quick. We will look it up real quick. There is a because I want to give it a specific name. Docker run dash name. Let me see. Let's look it up real quick. Options. -d for detached. Let's see. Name. Dash name. Where does a name come in? That's what I want to do. Give it a name. Okay, cool. Got it. All right, so let's fix that up a little bit. Let's go back over here. Name, remove the dash D over here. And we're going to put it like that. Cool. There we go. So now we have it running with the name of Chaos Camp Web UI Challenge. It's running detached and it's doing the port 8080. So now if we do Docker PS to show the running containers, we have our Chaos Camp Web UI Challenge and we have some other container that's running. So we are good to go. All right, so now we'll do the instructions. This is navigate to localhost on port 8080 in your web browser. You will see the Web UI Automation Challenge. So, are you ready for this, Stephanie? Are you ready for this? All right. Here we are in our browser. We are going to copy this localhost on port 8080. And if we do a drum roll, please. All right, so this thing right here, right? We need to be able to double click it, right? But let's see. So this page generates a UUID inside a span element. Challenge: automate the process to find the span containing the UUID, double click it, and assert the span style is green. This test needs to rerun 100% with a 100% success rate. All right. So what it's saying is, when we double click this, we need to make sure that it's green. So let's refresh. So when I first saw this challenge, though, it was a little bit different because it was a button that was moving all over the place. But let's see what's going on in here. All right. So we have our span tag. And when you double click it. Okay. So now if we refresh. So there is, all right. So here we go. This is just inside a span tag. And these are the things that are changing. Okay. And when you refresh it, the number changes, so you can't get it off the number. All right, cool. So, do you get the challenge, Stephanie? Does it make sense what the challenge is? Looking at this terrible, if I can zoom in on this. Looking at this terrible, these terrible selectors or HTML, and we need to find this right here. Okay. So let's give it a try. All right. So let's see. First things first. Span. Wait a second. Let's see here. That's not where it goes. So we have this one. Let's put 30 minutes up on the clock for this. Let's show the clock too. All right. Let's see what we can do. See, that one already has a downvote. But let's put in some mysterious music to go with it. So let's figure this out here. Stephanie already hates it. So let's see here. So we have this one. Only got one though. Yeah. So we do at ID root. Oh, this needs to have. All right. Let me just do span. Start with just a span. So it's only finding these two. Interesting, isn't it? What the heck is shadow root? Alright, let's see. What is shadow root element? The shadow root interface of a shadow DOM API is the root node of a DOM tree that is rendered separately from the document's main DOM tree. You can retrieve a reference to the element shadow root using its element. What in the world? There are two ways to access elements within the shadow DOM. Shadow root script. Element in this. Another approach introduced in Selenium 4 is the direct support for accessing shadow. I have never seen the shadow root before. And this is why you are a tech barbarian. Because you're doing the same thing that I would do, or that I am doing, right? Like, oh, what the heck is shadow root? Let's see how we use that. And now we can get even further. So shout out to you, Stephanie, as always. All right, so let's try this. So I am, well, all right, cool. So let's see. We can probably do it this way because we are using Selenium 4. So say shadow root wrapper driver final element. That's going to be root in our code. So if we look at our code over here, so the shadow root should be this one. And access the shadow root of the element. Find an element within the shadow root using CSS selector. Okay. Okay. So let's see something real quick. If I go here and I do shadow right up there. So is that it? All right, let's get started. So we know that this code is going to fall within here, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do it like this. So let's do that. Right, so this is one way the code would this is one selector that should work, right? So let's get to our
Another one.
I always do that. All right, cool. So let's get here. So we are going to first make this bigger. All right, so we are going to do a new file, or let's do a new directory. Python package. Test, or just call it tests. And we're gonna do new Python file. We're gonna name this Python file all right, so we are gonna do, so let's add our packages. Gonna add them from here first. Let's see here. All right, so now we are going to do, I think we need the WebDriver manager as well. I wanna use the Selenium manager, but I haven't had a chance to look into that yet. Make sure that's the latest one. So I'm just gonna copy this code right here. We got that, and now we want to do driver.get http:// www, or no, localhost 8080. All right, so let's stop here. Let's give it a run, see what happens, because we might have to troubleshoot some stuff before we get that far. So let's give it a run. It should open the challenge page or not. Why didn't that work? Oh, there we go. Oh, all right. It opened it just very quick. So let's do yield maybe? I don't know. I'm not really sure how yield works in the first place. All right. It's out of a function. Great. Okay. So let's do... Driver. Time dot sleep. Let's see it 30 seconds for now, just so we can see it. I just want to see it load. That's all. We'll figure the rest out later. So there we are. So it loads. Cool. So now we can stop this. And so we have it loaded. And now the next thing that we want to do is let's look at the documentation real quick. Let's see if we can get find the element wrapping the shadow. So here's what we're gonna do, right? Inside of our code, we're going to say UUID selector equals I'm gonna store this for now. Here. All right, UID selector equals that, right? And I'm going to say assert driver dot find element by, I've got to import the by. Where do you import the by from Selenium? Never remember that. So let's go to Selenium again. Let's see if it's in here. Take that. And take that. By dot CSS selector and then UUID selector. And then we're gonna do get attribute. And Don says that we need to assert that the style is green. So let's clicking on this real quick. And attribute. So what we're gonna do, get attribute style. So say Selenium validate or assert attribute. So get attribute. Style equals like that. So this is saying assert that the driver find element by the UID selector, get attribute style is equal to, actually we just need this right here. Oops. That's what we need. So, hi, Miss Randy. How are you? Happy to see you here tonight. Hope your classes are going well. Randy is my favorite data engineer. All right. So we have this, and we are going to do. All right, cool. So that is what is our end goal. Our end game. All right, cool. So that is what we are striving towards. I'm gonna move this here and say this has the potential to change as we get more familiar with the shadow realm. All right, cool. And so we got that. All right, so now, so what I did was I added the assertion, right, saying driver find element by the CSS selector of the UID selector and get the attribute. So I haven't done the double click yet, right? But I'm gonna add the double click. All right, let's do this. Add double click. We'll have to use page actions or something named like that. All right, so what I have here is asserting that when you get the style, after you double click on it, the background color should be green and the color should be white. The color of the text should be white, right? And I put the UUID selector, which is what I anticipated to be now, but that is subject to change. So when we get there, when we cross that bridge, we'll take care of it. All right. So yeah. All right. Let's see how we can get into the shadow realm. So if we look at here, I'm going to try it with this one first, right? If not, we can quickly pivot to the JavaScript one. After Stephanie's freelance project, she is an expert once again with JavaScript. So let's copy this one by one, right? So let's go to here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to copy this. We're going to go here and we need to find the element wrapping the shadow DOM. So I'm going to look at this side again. So the thing is, there's a few of them here, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and the root. So here's what we're going to do, right? We are going to see what happened, what value this is, right? If we go like this. So root and then shadow root, right? And then I'm just going to print it. See what happens. Take this thing off. But let's see what value this brings us, right? So it failed. Where did it fail? It failed trying to find that. So let's modify this some more. We just do root. Oh, okay. So we gotta say print fine, not text. I'm curious what text would do. Let's do text first, right? Let's see what happens with that. It prints this out. Interesting. So it is finding it in there. But when it tries to go in here, it cannot find. But let's say if I remove this then, out of curiosity. Just to see what goes on here. Okay, cool. So, I'm in here testing out I'm testing this out, right? So let's get rid of that. So we say, I'm gonna say here dot get attribute and body. Yeah, let's do that. So this should print out the HTML of the page. And we can see what's going on. So none. Oh, okay, that's why. Get attribute. So it's not get attribute that we want. We want. What is this? What's that? Let me see what that is. Yeah, that failed. All right, so let's see here. Okay, so let's say we do get attribute inner HTML. Let's see what this does. Okay, here we are. So all it gets you is a div and a div inside of that. Look at that. So sneaky. So find the element wrapping the shadow DOM. Okay, so we have a few of those. So I'm looking at the code right now. So we have Hey D, how's it going? we are going to get to the page object model in a little bit, just finishing up this, or we're just wrapping up a challenge real quick, but we're going to get there in a few. Let's see if this happens with this. About to pivot to JavaScript in a minute. So let's do another one. All right, let's pull up the JavaScript it is. So let's see, how do we do it in the JavaScript one? So let's take this one. Okay. So shadow root wrapper dot shadow root. Let's say this is root. Not shadow root. So if we move this, let's move this down a little bit. And we're gonna go to here. Say this is the locator. Let's see what happens. None type, no element in. Print shadow root. None. Well, so if we look at this code here, before we wrap it up, there are about 4 levels of shadow roots, or 5 maybe. So we have to get inside of this one. We have to get inside of this one. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did these change yet? Those changed too. Check something. We are about to move on, but I just want to see one more thing. Nope. All right. So what does that mean? It means we have some homework to do on how to access the shadow root. Because so that's what the problem is. We know how to solve the challenge. We just need to know how the heck to get inside of the shadow root. And once we can do that, we will solve Don's petty little challenge, brought to you in part by Chaos Camp. Right? So it is what it is. Thank you very much, Don, for making our life a living hell. All right, let's get rid of this very depressing music. And here we are. We are back full screen. All right, cool. So let's get into the page object model. How about that? All right, cool. And yes, Miss Randy is certainly here. All right, so page object model it is. All right, cool. All right, so we are going to do that in Java. So let me get that pulled up. Let's get that pulled up. IntelliJ. And we're going to do this. So, and I'm going to pull. And as you can see with that challenge, right? What takes most of the time is the research. Once you actually figure out what you need to do, you can write the code pretty quickly. It's just the research part that takes the most time, you know? And that's the thing. Companies, the more you go up the pay ladder, they're paying you for your creativity, for your thinking, like your critical thinking skills, your innovation and stuff like that. They're not paying you for like being able to do the work. They're paying you for your experience, right? And that is the key to excelling in your career, is putting yourself in very tough positions so you can be able to figure things out. Like seeing with this challenge, right? Never heard of a shadow root. First time seeing that. And calm and like, all right, cool. Let's do some research, right? And you can see that I've been working closely with Stephanie because she did the same exact thing that I did. As I went to Google, she's like, "Oh, I just Googled the same thing," because she knows now how I think, and she's following in that process, and that's why she is seeing great success, right? So, all right, let me pull up Uber Eats. All right, so like I was saying earlier, which you might have missed this part, D, but when I first started the channel, right, I did I live stream doing side by side automating in Python and in Java, right? We went through Uber Eats to automate that, and we automated Uber Eats, and I was supposed to put the Java project in the page object model, but I didn't. But I did do it for Python. So we're just going to take the opportunity to do the page object model in the Java project so that I can talk through it, answer questions, all of that, right? And like I said, I'm going to be using the page factory version of I'm going to implement using the page factory in Java of using the page object model, right? So you'll see it when we get there. But first, let's take a quick look at the Uber Eats site. So this is the Uber Eats site. They're not as yellow as they used to be, thank God, right? So the way that it works, this group is going to enter the address, find food. It's going to find find what's local, and you're going to choose something. And I think it chose Wendy's or something, and it's going to go all the way to like the checkout or something. I don't know, something like that, right? But that's not important. The most important part is converting it to the page object model. So what we're going to do 20 minutes work and 5-minute break. In our 5-minute break, we either answer the questions from the chat or the comments, or we're going to pull up LinkedIn and look for some jobs. Right now, I might look for cybersecurity jobs because I got a whole list of cybersecurity jobs that I can search for, because one of the problems I had with cybersecurity jobs is I didn't know what particular jobs there were for them, right? But now I have a whole list of about like 31 cybersecurity jobs. So I am going to look some of those up to see what is the level of experience, what's the pay range, all of that good stuff, all right? So let's get into it, all right? So this is Uber Eats. Let's put our 20 minutes on the clock, right? I don't want a good guy to get on me again.
It's time to do.
All right, so in our so in this Uber Eats, right? I don't know what this file is here, but we have our Uber Eats where let's look through the code real quick, right? So like I said, I did the home page in the page object model, which we'll review, right? But let's go through it. It says so we are setting up the driver, a new Chrome driver, and we're saying maximize the window once you open it, implicit wait of 15 seconds, and go to the Uber Eats homepage. Clicking, so this is part of the page object model, right? I got the click accept cookies, search for the restaurant on the homepage. And then here, this is where we stop with the page object model, right? Because now we're on the next page, and I have like this CSS selector code in here, and it just looks like a hot mess, right? Right, Stephanie? This is terrible. Like, would you hire me if I did a technical project and I presented this to you? I'm like, here, this is my automation, right? I got all these ugly selectors all over the place. You'd be like, this guy's a technical coach? Like, give me a break. His barbarian should ask for a refund. Do not ask for a refund. Just so letting you guys know, do not ask we're gonna fix this, all right? That is what we do. We fix it. Okay? So let's start off with, so let's review the homepage one, right? The homepage factory. Right? So inside the homepage factory, so this is what I mean by we're using the page or homepage object, right? This is what I mean by using the page factory. We have our find bys instead of doing like web element accept cookies equals by dot accept cookies whatever, or I think it's by dot accept whatever it is. Like we don't do that. We are more advanced than that. Which you could do it that other way. It's like very minimal change. I just think that in Java at least this is a lot cleaner to use. because you can define a little bit better, right? So let's start from the beginning, right? We're saying public class homepage or home, right? And we're defining web driver, right? And we're saying, so now we have a constructor, so we can call it in our test case, in our test scripts, right? We're saying assign this driver here to the driver that we're calling in here. That's how we're going to use the page object. And we're saying page factory initialize the elements that are here, right? To this on this page, okay? Using this driver on this page, okay? So now, so this is just a setup, right? Not as important as here, right? I mean, it's important because if you don't do it, then it's not going to work. But the point is, here we are. We have so find by, or we're saying find by XPath, and this is the XPath to the cookie to accept the cookies, right? And we give it a name. Say the web element is private, and we're saying we're naming it accept cookies, right? And I'm going to explain why we have it private in Java. You know, you don't have that option really in Python like this, but here's why we have it as private. Well, I'm going to explain, right? But first we have all of them as private. So so now this delivery address input field, find by the ID that it was at the time, at least, is location, type ahead, home input. I wonder if that's still there. Let's see if it's still the same thing. You would think it would be, right? I'm looking out on the other screen right now. So yep, still the same. Cool. So in theory, if we were to run this, it should still work, right? But that's not the point of this. So we have location, type ahead, home input, and the web element is delivery address input field. Then we have the find food button is an XPath, and the name is find food. All right. So now what we do is this is what I do, right? Because some people, which I think it is the wrong way to do it, they'll have all of these as public, right? They'll have it like this: public, right? And why because now when you do this, you can access it directly. So you don't, you can go like directly. So you can have it, I'll give you an example, right? So here, let's take this accept cookie one, and we can go to the Uber Eats here. You could technically do something like that, right? Accept cookie dot click, right? You could do that. But I think it's not good practice to do this because I don't want to expose that variable directly. Welcome, Don. You might have missed it, but we are no longer friends. We tried the web UI challenge, and your Shadow Realm route did not make us happy. So the Tech Barbarians voted, and you have been voted off the island. This message was after I showed Stephanie the project. She said, "Thanks." She hates it. So just bring you up to date. All right. All right. Let's keep going with this. So I could access it like this, but the reason that I don't access it this way is because what if I want to make a change to it, right? Now I can potentially mess up all the tests that are referencing it, right? So what I do is I keep them private, right? You're going to see this. So once I make them all private, it's not going to work over here. You're going to see an error. See one related problem already, right? So I go here and you see that I have an error because it has private access in pages.home replaced with a getter. So see, and this is why I like the JetBrains projects, right? Because it could have said make this public, right? Which if I do more actions, it probably does say make it public, right? However, it gave me a better option. It says replace with getter, which is a better choice to do, right? So the reason that it can just do that because it already exists as a getter. But what we're doing here is we're saying we are going to not allow access to these, right? Because we want to control them within here. So for instance, if I wanted to change this name to accept all cookies, right? If I go here and accept all cookies, this stays the same and I don't have to change the code. I don't have to change this getter where all the tests can be referencing that and then I can cause a big mess, right? I'm not going to do that, but that is one of the reasons that you use getters because you make the getters public. You make the getters public and you make what it's actually getting on what it's returning to you, you make those private, right? And that's why when I'm working through this, I will always go as I have my web elements as private, and then I do create getters, and those are public, and then I can start writing my methods, right? So those are my selectors, my web elements for the home page. And then on the next page, I'll start actually creating some new ones, but just so you can see, right? So there's my getters. And then now I have some methods here, right? Where these are my test methods. If you remember from the video yesterday about the overview for page object model. Now we have our test methods, right? Oops. I hate when I do that. How do I get rid of it? All right, cool. When I say, so I have here, and here's what I like about the test methods, right? I can add text to it so I can know what's going on. So this one says, so here, it's really just saying click accept cookies, right? But when I'm running the test, I can log it here. This, I can log it here where I can say, click the accept cookies button, right? So now when it's running, it's going to print it out to the console, right? That I'm clicking the accept cookies. But here's the thing, right? And I'm not even talking about a framework in this instance, right? Because if I had a framework, I would have like a method that's calling from the framework that's called print, and then I can add a logger to it. I can do I can add reporting output to it, whatever the case may be, right? But the cool thing is I don't have to have dirty test, right? Wash your test, okay? So because I could do like logger dot info and then log that. So in your logging, that'll be there as well. I could do like for the test in G, right? Reporter dot log and then log that to the test in G reporter. I can do that for extent reports as well. So but this would not be the place to do it, right? What I've done in the past in the framework, I have like a print method, right? And then I'll just say print and then click accept cookies. And now in that framework, it's doing all of that printing to the console, printing to the logging, printing to the reporting portion of it. All that goes in there. But just giving you some insight of separating like how the page object model and the framework are different, right? Because a lot of people confuse the page object model and what an actual framework is, right? Framework is more about the infrastructure of your tests, things that are being reused and stuff like that, while the page object model is it's a design pattern specific to the page, to have clean code, right? So that's like click the accept cookies, and then here we have actually, let's go back and fix this one as well. So click accept cookies. And then we have click the find food button. So enter delivery address, right? And I'm going to show you a little trick as well. So enter delivery address, right? And get delivery address. Input field, send keys. So here I'm passing a parameter where I'd be entering the delivery address, right? And send the keys. And then now this one is saying click the find food button, right? However, what I'm also doing is I'm creating another method because I want to simplify it, right? I'm saying search. So this method is called search for restaurants, where I'm passing in the parameter of delivery address, right? And here I'm calling this method for enter delivery address, where this parameter is being passed in. And then I'm also clicking the find food button. So this one method here, right? This test method is also executing the enter delivery address and the find food. So now if we look at it on our test here, right? All we have to do is call search for restaurant. This one search for restaurant is handling everything to search for the restaurant. So all I have to do, so in my code, right? Maybe undent this, or maybe I should be indenting this then. Give me a second. Okay. So this one code here is searching for the restaurant, right? And then, yeah, so very clean. But now we get over here and it is not clean anymore. So we are going to clean it up. We are the QA automation cleanup people. You know what? We should start a service that we go and refactor crappy code, crappy automation code, and put it into the page object model to make it nice and reusable and stuff like that. All right. So what page is this? So what we're going to do, we are going to transition over to this page. And we are going to enter 8R37 plus 95. 8R37 plus 95. Coconut Creek. Let's just do that. All right, there you go. So let's do this. Search for that. So this page is our, let's just call this results page, I guess. All right. Yeah, let's call this results page. So we are going, so let's pivot back to here. And we're going to call this search results, right? So Java class, we're going to call this search results. And notice the naming convention for Java, class name, capital S, capital R. And let's add that here. And no, I'm not being sponsored by Uber Eats, unfortunately. I don't have any sponsors yet. I'm working on that. Actually, no, I have Chaos Camp is a sponsor. Forgot about that. Gotta remember my sponsors. All right, cool. So we have that, and we are going to do web driver. Let's import that. That's interesting. Should have been imported, but I'll just copy it from this one, I guess. I don't know why. Anyways, so we have there. All right, cool. So we have that. And we're going to do, so I like to do my constructor first because I always forget to add it when I don't. And then I try to run it and nothing works. And then I'm like, why doesn't this work? Right. So we do this dot driver equals driver and page factory dot initialize element. And it's driver dot this. Cool. So we have that. And now we are going to go to this one. So this one is the heading and it's supposed to match all stores. All right. So this is going to be filter heading. So we're going to copy that and we're going to say at find by annoying, then CSS, and then we say private web element. I don't even think in the new version of Java you need to specify private, but whatever. Web element, and let's say filter results heading. All right. So filter results heading. Okay. And let's see if there's anything else on that page that we want to capture. So Uber Eats. So then I'm gonna put this for now, but there's a better way to do it. So there's a better way to do this, but just for now, right? Just so we don't waste too much time, I'm just gonna put this like that for now. This is XPath.
Lunch break! Lunch break!
And private web element, and this is going to be let's just call it restaurant result. Right. So the better way that I was saying that I should do it is just have the actual XPath and then probably when you're or make it a list, right? And then say choose the second one in the list as opposed to hard coding the number 2. But that's not really necessary. What we can do, we can probably refactor it at a later date to do that because that's not the purpose of this actual live stream. But we could come back to it and refactor it later, right? And then that'll give a even better insight on the QA engineering mindset of how to create nice tests. Okay, so now we have these two. Before we go to break, let's see if there's any other ones. Let's take the last one. This is going to be on the next page. All right, so we're good here. So what we're going to do is when we come back, we will turn this page into a page object and implement it inside of the test script and go from there. Right. So we are back. All right. So let's put 5 minutes up on the clock. And let's see what's been going on in the chat. Stephanie says, Don says, page object model is so 2005. Ralph object model is the new thing. And Stephanie says, too much shadow DOM, not enough shadow ROM.
Message.
And Don says, most people who attempted this challenge told me to, yep. But I did not say that. I said that I am going to solve it. I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to do some more research on the shadow DOM to see exactly how that works, and then come back to it on a later, maybe Sunday. I'll be able to figure it out. And if not, we'll keep going. All right. So, oops, don't want that there. Get that right there. And Stephanie says she is about to start the rock, paper, scissors API challenge tonight. I told her she doesn't rest. She's just like going back and forth. She just finished her one project. Now she's like, up, I'm off to a new project. I want a chaos camp. And that is why she is winning, right?
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
I mean, you know, all we do is win, man. You know that.
All right. So, and that API challenge is very, very cool as well. I would post a link in the chat, Don, to the API challenge, to the rock, paper, scissors API challenge. I think that is a very cool challenge to do. And it will give you a comprehensive insight into QA, expose you to a little bit of Docker, and it will get you familiar with API testing and a route to start automating your API testing. All right. So amazing. And Don says, this code is too clean. How dare you? I wish I had my sound. I have to get the sound bite. How dare you? Maybe I can do. It's going to be too much work to do it. But yes, try to have clean code. All right. Don says, clean abstractions is equal to change one method to affect many tests. And that in part is the purpose of the page object model, to have clean code, clean structure, clean organization. And yes, we're going to be starting RAAS, refactor as a service. And Don says, Uber Eats is making me hungry. No, I am not sponsored by them yet. And Don says, the most extreme over engineering of a Hello World app over at Chaos Camp. Let's go take a look at it real quick. Let me see if I can. Where is it? I want to see it. Let's see here. Gonna pull it up in a second. And Don said, new camera or light. Not a new camera. Not technically a new light, but I have those LED lights that are on up top. So that's the background light that you are seeing. Actually see how it changes and stuff. So that's what you're seeing there. And Stephanie and Don were racing to post the link to the rock, paper, scissors challenge, but Stephanie won. So shout out to Stephanie is a born winner. Oh yeah, look at that. Racing with Don, even won there. So let's look up the over-engineered Hello World app, and then we'll get back to our page object model.
Get a move on. Back to work. Chop, chop. Let's go. Come on. Get a move on. Back to work. Back to work. Back to work.
So let's see. Hello World over-engineered, because sometimes print Hello World just isn't enough. I think I looked at this before, right? Let's look at the historical background of Hello World. In the early days of computing, programmers were content Programmers were content with simple programs like the classic Hello World. As time went on and systems grew in complexity, so did the need for more robust software development practices. However, in 2023, a group of developers with a hint of irony and lots of free time decided to push the boundaries of what's reasonable, and thus Hello World Over-Engineered was born. This project stands as a monument to the dangers of overthinking and over-engineering. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions are still the best. So the project's architecture is an embodiment of excessive abstraction layers reminiscent of enterprise software for billion-dollar corporations, and just to print a greeting. Well, Don, how are we going to charge $100 million for this application if it is not abstracted to infinity and beyond? All right. So come on, Don, get with the program. All right. So config, where we define the mode of our application, because you need to know if your Hello World is production ready. Duh. All right. Services handles the logic to display messages. Factories in charge of creating the right kind of message, because one doesn't just create a message, of course not. And the data where our precious messages live. Okay, so a huge thank you to the overthinkers and abstraction lovers, Don Overkill Johnson. Don, why not add another layer, Johnson? Don, abstract all the things, Johnson. Shout out to Don Johnson.
I appreciate you.
And many others who contributed to this ironically heavy project to say hello world. All right, so while this repository began as a joke, it has now been used in numerous software engineering courses worldwide as an example of how not, and I repeat, not to structure a project. This also became a meme in many developer communities, reminding developers of the perils of over-engineering. So the usage. To run this masterpiece of art, ensure you have Python installed, you clone the repository, you navigate to the Hello World app directory, and you run main.py. And the diagram goes main, and then you have your services where you have your display service, right? And then it goes down to your message factory. And inside the message factory, one of them goes to the config, right? The settings.py. And then you have another one that goes to the hello message. And inside the hello message, it goes to the data layer, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers, right? And then inside the data layer, you have the hello message for production bugs, and you have the hello message debugging for when we have an issue displaying hello world, right? So disclaimer, running this makes you rethink your software design choices. I don't know though. I think this is beautiful, because it can, you want to know that all of this stuff is working if something happens here, I think it's good. So let's see if we can look at the code real quick. So services, display services. All right. And data, let's look at the data. Messages, hello message. Hello world, look at that. We will still get our hello world. And if we have to debug, we still get our hello world in debug mode. So beautiful, Don. Shout out to you, Don. But wait, there's more. Don also included unit tests to make sure that each layer is working as expected, like the amazing developer that he is. All right. So shout out to Don one more time.
We the best.
All right. So let's get back to our page object model. So we are here and put 20 minutes on the clock.
Let's go. Let's go.
All right. So we have water. So we have, all right. So now we need to call this into the page, right? So what we're going to do, let's close. What is this thing over here? I don't know what this is. Oh, okay. Yeah. Close that. All right. Close that. Close that. Okay. So now we are going to go to our, let's close out the home page. We're going to go to our test. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come up here because I like to call all of these together. I'm going to say search results equals new search results and driver. Right. And I'm going to come down here. I'm going to say assert. So I'm pretty much, I'm just going to do the same thing here. So I can just come into here and I can say search results dot. Oh, actually I forgot something. Here I didn't do my getter, so that's why nothing's coming up. Right? Actually, there's a lot I didn't do in here. So let's do that. All right. So let's do our getters. Getters. I need these two. We have our getters, right? And I'm going to need to click the restaurant result. So let's add a method real quick. Public void choose restaurant from results. And if you notice, right, when I write my method names or my variable names, I am very, very descriptive in the names, right? Why is that? Because number one, I don't want Don to make fun of me, right, for not having clean code. I would say more importantly, but no, that's the most important part. I don't want him to make fun of me, right? Because it hurts my feelings. So that is the main reason. That's the only reason that you want to have methods or like naming conventions that are very clear is for Don to be happy and not to make fun of you. But another minor reason is, which is the real reason. Don't tell Don I said that. But the real reason is that you want other people to be able to understand your code, and even more important, you want to be able to understand your code, because when you come back to this code 2 days later and you're like, what the hell is this? Like if you just name it, something like this, right? Click link, right? And then you say here, and you say do something, right? When I like, if I come and look at this and I'm doing a code review, I'm like, what link are you clicking? Right? I need something more descriptive. And I think in, for the very long 2 months that I've known Stephanie, I think in her early days, I had to tell her like, hey, you gotta name your variables a little bit more clearer so that you can actually know what you're like when you come back to it, or when someone's doing a code review, they can know what's what, So yeah, so that's the point. You want to have very easy to understand names, right? So that's why like my names are long, but they're also understandable, So this is telling me exactly what this method is going to do. This method is going to choose a restaurant from the results, also tell Stephanie that if this whole technical stuff doesn't work out, she can always be a stand-up comedian. So that was hilarious. I have to put this up now. This is too funny. Stephanie says, actually, he told me to do it so Don wouldn't make fun of it. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Let me put this up. So let's put that right there. All right. So, what the heck? This is over here. So we're going to do so print. We're going to say click restaurants. So like I was saying earlier, right? I technically wouldn't want to do the position as I have it here, but I'm naming this like this so that in the future I can come back and I can use the same method name, but I can add a way to choose the position of the one that I want to click, right? But we're not going to worry about that right now. So I'm going to say so get restaurant result dot click, right? So now that's going to take care of that. So now if we can actually go back now to our results, and we can say here get filter heading, get text, and now we expect all stores. And then now if we go down here, we're going to say search results dot choose restaurants from results. So now that replaces this whole. So look at this, right? Look at this. Let's make this a little smaller. We don't need all this over here. Somewhere. All right. So just close it. So this right here, replaces this whole long thing over here. Right? So just nuke it. Gone with the wind. Gone in 60 seconds. Gone in 60 milliseconds, to be honest, right? So that's out of there. Okay. So now on the next page, so if we go here and we hooks delivers. I can't be eating this right now. All right. So there's a hooks in Coconut Creek. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Anyways, focus. Right. So now we want to validate this right here. Right. So what we're going to do, we are now on our, I guess we call it restaurant page maybe. So let's go here and we're going to create a new page and we're going to say Java class. Oh, we're doing Java class. So let's just start over. So here we're going to do a new page, Java class, and we're going to say, restaurant. See what's on this page to give it a name. I guess I call it restaurant menu. What's a good page for this? What's a good name for this page? Let's call it restaurant. Just call it restaurant. Yeah. You can always change it later. Kind of. Not really, but kind of. Anyways, whatever. So now we're gonna do web driver, and let's do our constructor. Public restaurant web driver, and then we're gonna say this dot driver equals driver, and we're gonna say page factory dot init and driver this. Oops, that's not what we wanted. This is what we want. All right, cool. So we have our new constructor, and we're just going to go here, or not search. We can close out search results. Go to Uber Eats, and we want to take the let's call this. So we're gonna take this right here, and we're going to say find by and CSS, and we're going to say private web element and web element, and we're going to call that let's call it restaurant title, or restaurant name. Actually, it's more accurate, restaurant name. All right, and then let's see if there's anything else on this page that we need. So this right here, I would put this part as part of the framework, where I can have a method that says like scroll by this many pixels on a page. I'll probably make this a variable, right? And say so, but we'll leave that for now, right? No big deal. So next on this page, what is this? I'm guessing this is clicking on an item on the page. So let's do, and this is why it's important to have comments. Click on first menu item. All right, so we're gonna copy this. Go here to our restaurant tab and find by XPath. It was private web element, and this is going to be menu item. And this one, like the same concept goes for what we're talking about on the search results page. So choose the position of the restaurant that you want. We can come back and refactor it so it can be it's not only going to click on the first option. You can say in a test method, you can say choose the fifth item on the menu, right? So it can be kind of dynamic. And you can even do it like, if you want to make it really, really dynamic, you can say, all right, get a list of all the items on the page and randomly choose between 0 and that number in the list, which choose an item, like choose a random number and then choose one of those items and try to check out successfully from there. You know, that would be a really, really good test. A little bit more complex, right? But it's a good challenge. There you go. There's a challenge for you done to add. Just gave you one. All right. So now we have that one. Anything else on that page? I think when you choose, so let's go look at the. So if we go here, I don't think we need this that much anymore. So let's say you choose the 10 wing dinner. So now you get on the item page. All right. So let's see. Let me just see what this one is real quick. All right, cool. So the next one, so we can continue then, because the next one is on the actual menu item page. So let's do that. So that will go for maybe we'll stop. All right, so let's go with. All right, so let's go back to. Here. All right, so this one is when we get to the next page, right? So what we're gonna do, let's do our getters. And we're gonna do a getter for these two. We have our getter, and now we're gonna say click on the menu item. Public void click or choose item in menu. And I'm gonna go like that. And we're gonna say click on a menu item. And we're gonna say get menu item dot click. Right? There we go. So that's done. So now let's go and refactor here. And we're gonna say, so starting here, we're gonna change ours. So first, before we do that, we have to instantiate our so it's gonna be called restaurant equals new restaurant driver. Cool. So now we come down here. Let's get rid of this one. Actually, I like to do it like this, right? Because let's say assert true and restaurant dot get restaurant name is displayed, right? So look at this amount of code. So if you're reading this, right? So let's compare the two, right? You're reading this one. This one is assert true that driver dot find element dot by CSS selector and some HTML code is displayed, right? Compared to assert that this is true, restaurant get the restaurant's name is displayed. Which one is easier to understand what you're trying to validate, right? This we're talking about, like if let's say you're not familiar with code, right? And you come and read this, which one, and you're just reading this, which one is going to be easier to understand? Like if you're not familiar with JavaScript, if you're not familiar with Selenium, you're just reading through the code, right? Like maybe you have some weird fetish where you like to read code for some reason, right? And it says that all it says is restaurant, get restaurant name and is displayed, right? Versus driver, find element by CSS selector, H1, data, test ID, store, title, summary is displayed. Which one is easier to understand, right? I would say this one is way easier to understand than this one, right? So that's why we are going to get rid of it. You're out of there. 3 strikes, you're out, all right? So, and then here, click on the first menu item. So we are going to do restaurant dot choose item in menu. Boom, simple as that. So this short amount of code right here compared to this long code right here. Get out of here. Page object model for the win. That reminds me of one of our Q&A questions where someone was like, the engineering manager said we should try functional testing, or not functional testing, like functional programming or something like that. I'm like, maybe the engineering manager should worry about development. And because a lot of times engineers will look at automation from the perspective of how they develop, where it can be completely different than how we do QA, how we do automation and stuff. Like, always listen, but sometimes it's not always the best route to just follow, because you'll have that feeling that because they're engineers, because they're more experienced in coding and stuff, that they're right. But that's not always the case, because you have to. QA engineering and software engineering are not exactly the same thing, right? They're close. We support one another, but they are not exactly the same thing. So got to keep that into consideration. All right. So here we are. All right, so there we go. All right, so now we're gonna have another one for the selected. What could we call it? How could we call this page? Let's see. Call it selected menu item, maybe, or call it menu item. So let's create another page factory. Let's call that make it more food
Lunch break.
menu.
Lunch break.
Item. Or just call it menu, because what if it's not, let's call it menu item. All right, so menu item. And what time is it? 9:20, 9:30. Let's see. All right, so we are on break. All right, so what do you guys think so far about the page object model so far? I think we are going to call it a quit for tonight, and we're gonna pick this back up next Thursday to finish it off, right? Because I have actually almost forgot. I actually have a call in 30 minutes, so I am going. So yeah, we're gonna call it quits. I don't want to push it any longer. But we are on a good path. When we come back next time, we are going to continue with our. Let's take a quick look. So next time we come back, we're going to continue creating the page object for the menu item. Create the elements using the page factory. We're going to create the test methods, and we're going to integrate it into our tests. So we're gonna have a few to do next time, right? Because we have to. And we're gonna get creative as well. Because how are we going to pass this variable, right? Pass this parameter. No, pass this variable inside of the XPath to make this thing work, right? So we're gonna have to get a little creative next time. So we are going to push it even further. So let's look out for that, right? So next time we're going to add this one to the we're gonna add this to the page object for menu item, and we are going to then we're going to do something with this one, clicking on the checkboxes, all right? So we're gonna that means we're gonna end up creating this nice little loop right here inside of the inside of our page factory, right? Part of our page object. So that's gonna be really, really cool. So that is that. All right, so let's go back to full screen. Let me take the timer off. Let's see what we have in the chat from our good friend Don. Don says, have a cool way to run unit tests every time you git commit. Yeah. Yeah. You know, especially like whether you're using like you can do it through Jenkins. I use TeamCity at work, but certain like in the build pipeline, whenever you commit, it can, or it may be when you're trying to merge it, right? It depends how you set it up, right? But it can trigger the unit test to run. You can have it trigger certain automation tests, whatever the case may be, right? So that's part of like building the CI/CD pipeline, which we will do at some point. I know that a few weeks ago, to get Stephanie reacquainted with Jenkins, we used Docker to set up Jenkins, right? And now then I had her delete it and set it back up, and it was great. So let's see. Don says, you are killing me with the food images. I'm sorry. I apologize. And Don says, new business plan. You automate different services, perfect product placement, get paid to automate, but it's really a commercial for the product. Good point. Let's do it. It says brilliant. What do you mean by weird? Well, when did I say weird? Can you remind me when I said weird? I sometimes I say things and please help me out. Oh, okay. That's when I said it. If you all right. So I like to read code out loud in a Yoda voice. Yeah, that's what I meant by weird. Yeah. Actually, did I say weird or if I said it? Oh, I said if you have a weird fetish of reading code. Oh, okay. Okay, I got it now because all right. I apologize. I forgot that you fall asleep to reading Java Java novels where the star is a computer programmer who likes to write code, and that's how the young lady fell for him because she was reading his code. She never met him in person, but she was reading his code, and she totally fell for him. So that would be actually a pretty good novel. Now that you know what, I'm going to give that idea to somebody to write a novel about someone who fell in love with the code that a programmer wrote, although never actually meeting the programmer. And then they stalked them. And it became that could be an LMN movie. All right, anyways. So Don says, I have one food in functional and one foot in object oriented. Each one has each one has its fit. Don says, foot, not food, foot. See, you got me thinking about food. Thanks, Ralph. You're welcome, Don. Love page object model. That says, a call at 10 p.m. Ralph doesn't sleep for real. Yeah, I have to create I have a project to work on too. But yeah, we'll see. This is local commit before you even push. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. That is cool. Weird fetish reading code. I apologize. And Dot says, I left my threads panic for pleasure. I let my threads panic for pleasure. And 70 says, gives new meaning to side. All right, Stephanie, you know I cannot read these 3-syllable words, but if you insist I try. Syntactic sugar. Syntactic sugar. All right. Yeah. Cool. Good. Perfect. All right. Anyways, you guys, that does it. Trying to make me read 3-syllable words. That's where I draw the line. Okay. So on that note, we like syntax. Oh, syntactic. Oh, okay. Thank you for your help. Yeah. Thank you so much for your help because I was like, I can't read these words. So
I appreciate you.
all right. On that note, it is time to get out of here. I really, really appreciate you guys. Stephanie, I am so happy that you were able to watch that. I know you've been so busy the past 6 months, to be honest, but the past 2 weeks have been a marathon. We called it though, right? Like 2 weeks ago, we said it's going to be hectic, and it was. But what is the phrase that we always say before you go into an interview or something, right? So, and look at that, we made it to the other side. So I am so happy and proud of you. So yes, we did it. So, and now the fun is just getting started because we had to get through the initial chaos to get into the next chaos, of course. But we're gonna make the most of it. We are going to win because as our good friend says,
I mean, all we do is win, man. You know that.
all right. So on that note, we are heading out. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you, Don, for showing up. Thank you, Miss Randy, for blessing us with your presence in the chat earlier tonight. And Stephanie, it is always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. And go get some rest. All right, go get some rest. Tomorrow's a new day. Work on that challenge tomorrow, and we're gonna keep winning. All right. So On that note, for anybody who's still here, if you haven't done so yet, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the Patreon, see all the information. I promise this weekend I'm going to get that video about the interview questions in there. It's been a hectic past 2 weeks, traveling and all that, but I'm back, all right? And my internet's not cutting off, so we are going to have some fun, all right? So I'm going to get that video in there, and because it is so, like I told you guys, every part of the interview matters, and the question that you ask in the interview is essential, right? Asking the right questions, showing that you care, showing that you're already willing to add value. That's what's going to take you to the next step. So that way I can be able to say to you, see you on the other side. All right. So Don says, order Uber Eats with my promo code. I don't want Uber Eats though. You want Uber Eats, Don? You order Uber Eats with your promo code. Dude, I gotta go. All right. So on that note, my friends, my family, my barbarians, my fellow bag chasers, it has been a privilege and a pleasure to hang out with you tonight. But until Sunday, remember, tomorrow we have the bug bite coming out. It's about an Apple bug from iOS 7. But till I see you live again on Sunday, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week and weekend. And this is Tech Coach Ralph signing off.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
Hear me, warriors of the North. Today we have tasted the sweet nectar of victory. Our foes indeed defeated, and their lands are now bound before us. The gods themselves have favored our glorious deeds on this glorious day. We have shed blood, sweat, and tears to claim this land. Our relentless spirit, our unyielding determination. These are the very essence of our people. The spirit of our ancestors rejoice in the halls of Valhalla. For today, we have added to their eternal glory. Our victories will echo throughout the ages, and our names will be etched in the annals of history. But let us not forget the price and pain the brothers and sisters we lost. They now feast in the hall of our forefathers, watching over us with pride. Their sacrifice has paved the way for this moment of triumph. As we celebrate this conquest, let us also remember that our journey is far from over. More land awaits our conquest, more battles upon us forth. And the fire in our hearts burn ever brighter, for there is no limit to what we can achieve. To those who dare stand against us, let them tremble in fear, for they shall witness the fury of the northern storm, the wrath of the untamed barbarians. Today we celebrate our victory. Tomorrow we set our sights on new horizons, uncharted land where our banners will fly high. We are Vikings, we're barbarians, we are masters of conquest.